Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Practical Wisdom series, where this episode we are going to be talking about the fear of success. And today I have with me a special friend and fellow coach of mine named Carolyn. And Carolyn, you want to give the audience a description of who you are and a little bit of what you do?
Sure. I'm a life and spirit coach. So I support people that want to step out of their blockages, their interferences, and into their truly empowered, authentic self and utilize their God-given gifts and superpowers to create the life that they deserve.
Oh, I should sign up. That sounds great.
You have some untapped superpowers? We all do.
I'm sure there's some in there somewhere.
Mhm.
So we did a little pre-warm up before the interview today, but one of the things we wanted to talk to our audience about were practical ideas or practical ways to overcome what I would describe as the fear of success. And so I kind of asked you like, hey, do you think you have something that you might be able to share on that topic? And you're on this call, so I guess you said yes. So how would you describe like fear in the first place? I mean, do you have like a way that you see that come up for people?
Yeah, fear tends to be an actual, it's a tool that is used to protect us. So, and by us, it's usually the identity, the ego, the created identity up into this exact moment. So fear is really used more as a tool. Of your ego, your identity being like, I don't know, if you go up on stage and speak, like someone might say you're bad at that. And so that's its logic way of saying, be afraid of that because that would put a damper on our identity and who we believe we are.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're definitely the first person I've ever asked the question to that called fear a tool. I think that's a wonderful reframe because often people are doing everything they possibly can do to get away from fear, but that's kind of in this context then sort of like running away from the hammer, which may make putting the nail in a little more difficult, right? So if we think of fear as a tool, which is lovely, then what is, like, if we're going to break down all the parts of this conversation, what is success then in a way that you would describe?
Success is really anyone's definition. And for me, I believe it as if I feel truly authentic, I am successful. My whole work is to help people be what they are designed in this lifetime to be. And that's going to keep changing. That success is going to keep changing. If you can be your authentic self, that's a success in my vision, in my book. People may see me as successful, but I might not feel successful. But in somebody else's eyes, I am successful. So it's really a personal definition that I believe comes down to the authenticity, not the kind of cultural, you have money, you're successful, you're married before 30, you're successful. Like that's actually a cultural concept beliefs. What I work with is in the spirit sense of, are you playing out, are you being your true authentic imprint of this lifetime? That is success.
So then if I not nearly as articulately would kind of put that together, essentially if someone is fearful of success, they're running away from their authentic self, like
Totally. Yeah.
literally running from who they are or who they could be. Is that kind of what?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why would you do that? So
Why would people do that?
Yeah, that's like, I mean, if you reframe it that way, it's like, well, why would I run away from being powerful? Why would I run away from being, spiritual? Why would I run away from a superpower? Who would do that? So why would people run away from their superpower? What do you got on that question? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. The way that our world has been set up, the way that our culture has been set up, is to create boxes and places for people to be in. So very often the things that hold us back from our personal power and us stepping into our personal power is what other people will think. If I step into my uniqueness, then I won't be like everybody else. And we have this survival program that in order to get love, in order to survive, we have to connect with people, we have to be in community. And so if I was just my own personal story, I used to be a competitive volleyball player. When I got injured and that broke away, I was kind of like, who the F am I? And I lost that power, and then I was scared to step into a whole different box, not even a box, it's a freaking diamond. Like the new space that is possible is often people can't even see it because they're so focused on the community, the family values, that if they step away from those family values, their family will disown them. They won't appreciate them because they'd be different.
Yeah. So I think what I heard then is we presuppose that if we are unique, we will then not become part of a collective. Like unique people, unique beings don't belong. Is that like what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like a subconscious survival belief, fear thing.
Yeah. So I always talk about when I talk about fear, I always call it the lizard brain, and all of my stories on fear have saber-tooth tigers in them. So it's like when I think of fear and why it's a tool is if the tiger wants to eat me, it's good that I'm scared. I should run fast or hide, maybe hide. I'm not as fast as a tiger. So what about belonging to like that community it must make you feel safe then, right? Is it kind of comes down to a safety sort of scenario?
Yeah, safety and I would say love. So for instance, most children learn very early on the things that mommy will give me love for. If I joke around at the dinner table, mommy focuses on me and gives me love. So even though I might actually not want to be funny or want to control the humor of the situation of everybody's living, whatever, that's how I know to get love. And so that's what I continue to do for the rest of my life. And that's how I've created my identity instead of opening up to something different.
So is it like we become programmed to respond in a certain way because it's like a little Pavlov dog kind of thing? Whereas mom's like, you look pretty when you wear a dress, and I hate dresses, but I still wear dresses because mom says I look pretty. Kind of like that. Oh, thanks for the treat.
Exactly. And that's also why, like, I'm seeing now just with, for instance, social media, like a lot of people are, what do my followers like? What gets me likes? And then they shape themselves by how other people are responding rather than their true imprint and authenticity of themselves.
So would it be your perspective then that you would be more accepted if you show up more authentically yourself?
Good one. The right people that are here for your authenticity and your truth will show up. It's a trust of that. It's a surrendering to that.
I bet surrender causes a lot of fear.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That control, that grip on things.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, and so I wonder too, though, like you said, sort of to paraphrase, and I might mess it up, but you said like success very often is a cultural construct, right? Where we say, I know for me, when I was in my 20s, success meant I would have 2 kids, a house, be married, and be a CTO by the time I was 30. Those things did not happen, although I overachieved on the kid thing. Like I made 4 of them, so I win. But what I realized is like I got a lot of those things, like a home, and I had these little humans, and I had a pretty good job. I wasn't CTO, but I was pretty high up, and I was so miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get it because I was like, but I'm successful, and everyone tells me, oh my God, look at you, Jackie. You've done everything you've ever wanted. You're so successful. And I was like, well, then why am I so sad?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't match. Like, it didn't make sense. And so I wasn't really fearful of society's success. I wasn't afraid to be the head of a company with kids and all of those. I think I was more afraid of the success we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
which is to be me,
Yeah.
whatever that was.
Yeah.
And is that, like, have you seen some of that morphing, or is that kind of what we're talking about?
Totally. Yeah. 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 It's being you, and people had been saying, wow, you have this, wow, you have this, but you were like, it doesn't feel good though. And you being you, whoever that is in this moment, it changes every day, it changes in every moment. There was almost a fear of, would you still get that same recognition? Would you still get people saying, yes, you, yes, you?
Yeah. It's like I lost my likes.
Mm.
Doot, doot, doot.
Mm.
Like, everyone's like, oh, look at you, look at you. And I'm like, yay, hit my like button. And then all of a sudden, those things aren't there, and all my like buttons went away.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fear was like, which one was worse? No longer getting the like buttons, or right, or being the way I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know the answer there yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's really, the thing that I see most common is with family, of like, if I step into this, my family's not going to approve of me, like me, whatever. And like I come from an Irish Catholic background, very much like, get a job with a pension, like go this path. And when I quit my nonprofit job of 5 years, everyone like lost it on me. Not necessarily to my face, but I'm very intuitive, and I could sense this energy coming from my family. And I had to really dig into myself, break down that fear, and find my passion and fire of my truth, and that I had the trust to do this path. And the more I have shown up for myself, the more authentic I get, the more powerful I get, the more awareness I get. And each new step, more or new people come forward. New people give me those likes. New people are like, yes, I'm looking for that. Yes, I'm looking for that. So it's about a trust of the people that are supposed to show, that you're supposed to share your message to, will be there because you are living authentically empowered and being your true self. Really, that's what everybody's supposed to be doing. We're all supposed to be creating what we're here to create, not for anyone else, but for ourselves, through the work of the collective, if that makes sense.
So, so since this is practical wisdom, it's sort of makes sense. I think I still have some ego questions there, but in terms of, like, if I'm afraid to, let's just say I'm afraid to be me, what are some like tips, some practical exercises, some ways to begin that journey or that evolution? Is there anything you could share with us in that area?
Yes, that's so great. Right before you asked that, my guides were like, look at this that you wrote down. And then it was exactly what you said. So our mind, our ego, they play to protect us. So if your mind can make up a scenario, can think of a future possible scenario that is like, if I go live and share my message, people won't like me, or no one will view me, people will judge me. If your mind can create that possible scenario, your mind can also create a dope, amazing, goddess, powerful scenario. We have this power and this capacity to co-create with our subconscious. And so if you have thoughts of fear coming up into your mind that, let's say, when I quit my job, I had so many people saying, how are you going to make money? How are you going to make money? I went into massage therapy. How are you going to make money with that? Constantly hearing that also in my mind. My thoughts were doing that as well. So if those thoughts were coming up, I would see them, wave at them, know that they are not me, let them go. And then I would visualize, I would say to myself, I'm a successful business owner. If I can create that future possibility, I can also create the dope, amazing future possibility. And that is what will transmute your fear into your power. That's how you co-create. That's how you create your truth in this lifetime.
So, what I heard was so I always talk about where I am in time. Like if I'm in my current place right now, it's usually my most stable emotional place. Mm-hmm. If I'm all caught up with history or my mommy didn't like me when I was little, I get kind of sad. Or if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be penniless and die a lonely death, I'm in my future, like I'm prophesizing, and so I'm anxious. So if I were to feel anxious, it means I'm actually creating this anxious reality that I'm worried about because, apparently I now have a crystal ball. Mm-hmm. Or I could use my imaginary crystal ball and say, not only will I have enough, but I'll also have enough to help others or whatever my dope reality could be. Yeah. So is it kind of like, can you use the fear or the anxiety as like this trigger to go, let me create something prettier?
Yes, totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I've suffered panic attacks. I've been through years of depression. And if you are in those thick, weeded spaces, it is hard to go from all the anxiousness to actually, let me create my beach house. Like it is tough. And so just an additional little tip to get you to that next space is to first calm the nervous system down. Your nervous system is out of whack, out of sync. And some easy tips of just looking around. What do you enjoy seeing? What do you enjoy feeling? So bringing what is your frequency of being, the frequency that you have when you're in a depressive, anxious state, you're at a low frequency. And so to raise that to a state where you're more your true self is to just like notice things that are comfortable. Notice the enjoyment of your sweater. Say things that are true, like I'm Jackie and I have 4 amazing kids. They might get on my nerves sometimes, but they're amazing because I created them. Thinking things that are true, looking around, things that are comfortable, and that'll help you get to a space to then empower yourself to say, okay, now, that's one thing my mind, that fear is wanting to say. Well, guess what, fear? I have another possibility. Goddess Carolyn stepping up and saying, look at this amazing castle, world, island that I can also have. Neither one, we don't know either in this moment. You don't know which one's true.
You're both ridiculous, right?
Both. But you may as well, because when you create that other thing, that gives you a space of calmness. It doesn't put you into a fight or flight stress space because our body and our mind, the chemicals that get released, they don't know what is actually happening. So if you're thinking these thoughts of fear, these anxious thoughts, your body is releasing all the cortisol, which is a chemical that puts you in a fight or flight response that messes with your adrenal glands, that messes with your nervous system. But this castle, this other beautiful image puts you in a state of like, yes, I can achieve that.
I recently heard her name is Gabrielle. I don't know her last name. I was watching a show. You might know her. She's got great hair and she's very sassy, but she said, consider the next feeling thought. And I had to dissect it a moment. And what she described was like, you were just kind of saying, you may not be able to go from like the deep, weedy, I'm like trying not to jump level of anxiety to like, what? I'm a superstar. So she said, think of your emotions as sort of, they have different frequencies, which I think you just said. Like joy is like the mama, right? Woo, and then way down here is like pain. So maybe you don't go, I'm going to be amazeballs. Maybe you just go, I don't feel pain right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only irritated, or now I'm just frustrated. I can be forgiving. And like, so then it wasn't like the next right thought. It was the next feeling thought, just to take you up one small step for mankind and one
Yeah.
step for Jackie, right? But just a
Right.
tiny step to go so that you could believe yourself. That
Yeah.
could be a a thought that until you get better at this in terms of practicality,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't go from I'm going to jump to like I'm a superstar, but you can go from I feel like jumping to I feel like sitting down and having some tea.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of move your
Or
way.
look at this pretty view that I thought about jumping from.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other one that you mentioned, which I love, if you don't mind, I reframe as well, but people forget how much their environment actually affects them. And especially, you know, right now a lot of people are kind of home more often than they may have been before. And I live in the Midwest, so it can be very gloomy in the Midwest for, you know, 9.5 months of the year. So sometimes it's really, for me, it's like opening the shades.
Oh
So
yes.
letting the sun come in and going, oh, that's right, we do have sun in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I have like I love like these it's like a sweater. I love wearing kind of these like parka looking sort of things. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even care how I look. I just, they feel all soft and snuggly there and warm. And so sometimes it's, you know, if you can't think the next feeling thought, if you can't be from fight or flight out, and maybe breathing isn't helping,
Mm-hmm.
what's your favorite chair? What's your
Mm-hmm.
favorite cup?
Yeah.
You know, what's
Yeah.
your favorite shirt, your favorite
Yeah.
earring, your favorite
Yeah.
glasses? Just like the next piece of your environment that you can quietly and slowly control to just bring some of that peace back, bring some of that joy back.
Right. Exactly. Because that original piece that is the fear, that is that lower, it's called the emotional frequency scale, I think.
Yeah, I
That
think that's
lowest point, which is usually fear and despair, that's not you. You're not you until you get like midway up, like as in you, who is this co-creator, this spirit self. You, those, that fear is not you, that depression is not you, that inner critic thought, those are not you. Those are there to hold you back. Those are there to keep you disempowered to follow the cows in the herd
yeah,
that our culture likes to control.
yeah.
If everybody was empowered in their authentic self, there would be world peace.
So that brought up something for me that I didn't know was going to bring up. So I'm curious your thoughts on this, but sometimes I feel like fear is a cultural construct for control.
Oh, totally.
Like, I mean, you said Irish Catholic, so German Catholic here,
Yeah.
Midwest German Catholic, so, you know, um, and not that I'm very spiritual. I believe in God. I do. But like, I don't know why God would want me to eat fish on Friday. Like, it's like a super small example,
Yeah.
but like, well, God probably didn't really want that, right? There's actually a big historical reason for all of that. But my point is, like, sometimes I think that fear bubbles up for me when I'm going out of programming. Like if I'm going out of how I know I hate shoulding on people too, but when I'm going out of what I should be.
Mm-hmm.
You were raised, you eat fish on Friday, you go to church on Sunday, there's these things that you should do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my, I'm a sheep, I'm in my herd, and that's the way that I'm supposed to move. And as soon as I break away from these constructs, like, then the fear bubbles, right? Then the unknowings start manifesting, the unknowings start creating these future possibilities where I didn't follow the cultural constructs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was weird and kind of pontificating, but it sort of came up where you said, you know, we're not programmed actually to all be in the herd.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's where some of the fear for me comes up, having a lot of like Judeo-Christian sort of being raised that certain way.
That's been your identity.
Yeah.
And when we attach and hold to this identity, we're not able to actually be our continuously evolving spirit being.
Well, that's an interesting thought too. I never thought about that, but you can't both be solid in state and identity and also be ever changing and evolving.
Yeah.
I might have to journal on that later. I don't know.
I was when I was meditating on this, I asked Spirit to show me some examples for myself that I could share. And one that showed up was that I used to be like die hard sports fanatic of my teams. I live in the Bay Area, so Giants, Warriors, Niners. I also went to University of Oregon, so Ducks. I have like decked out paraphernalia, like all the stuff. And when I started my spiritual journey and like breaking down my identity, that kind of fell off because I no longer like needed that to identify. It was really almost like an anchor point for me. But as I let it go, I was able to see myself in such a different way that didn't no longer defined me. People used to define me by that. I used to define myself. Dating apps, sports fan, blah, blah, blah. But like that was all else I would say.
And that's it, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Really interesting example, and it helps me with a whole bunch of things. So there's this joke in Wisconsin. I live in Wisconsin. Like, and it's serious. It's like a serious thing. Like, if you're not a Packer fan, they might actually kick you out of the state. Like, seriously. If you don't eat cheese, they will kick you out of the state. If you don't drink beer, like, they will boot you out really fast, right? You know, it's a thing. Now, what makes that difficult is if you identify as someone from Wisconsin, you literally almost feel like you can't be a vegetarian. You can't be whatever's the one you don't eat cheese. I eat cheese. So, you know, like the vegan, right? You can't, like, I don't drink. I haven't drank in, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years or something. Literally choice. Like, I'm not recovering from anything. It's like a big problem. Like, well, why aren't you having a beer? Because I don't drink. Oh. What do you mean, oh? Well, are you recovering from some, like, yeah, from not having personal control of what's going on in my head, but you know, so I think that's interesting that all of those identify as someone from Wisconsin. We identify as a Packer fan, identify as these things, but like, it's such a deep-rooted identity in our state that like Bear fans will get beat up. Like, there is no joke. And I never really thought about that as, because I was like, I asked my husband, I'm like, dude, chill out. Why are you so upset about the draft pick this year? Like, he is angry. I don't get it. And he's like, well, they did. We this. And I'm like, you don't play for the Packers, bro. What's up with that? But it's a huge part of his identity.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
No.
But just what it does is it just pigeonholes you. I used to also if the Warriors lost, my day was ruined. My night, I had ex-boyfriends like, I can't hang out with you during the games because that's how, like, if the Warriors won, great. I mean, also, that's why all my teams went to championships in these last 10 years, and some of them won because I was so invested in it.
Exactly.
But there's this piece of that I can't remember what book it was. I think it was Seed of the Soul, Gary Zukav. I think I was reading that, and that kind of opened my eyes to like, whoa, why do I put so much of who I am in the faith of a team, in the faith of these people that they're just doing their job. They're just like, it's entertainment. I think it's great. It's fun to see athletes do amazing things as an athlete myself, but to put that much investment of my own emotional well-being is intense. So
I heard this, like, it's meme-ish or hashtaggy kind of thing the other day, but it really actually stuck with me. And I think it kind of relates to this. And it was, someone said to me, you could choose fear and not know, or faith and not know. Which one will you pick? And I thought, oh, what if you had the faith of success?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was
Faith
like,
in the unknown instead of fear in the unknown. Faith in
yeah.
the unknown.
And I thought, oh, I
Faith in your
just,
success.
yeah, wouldn't that be a empowering place to come from?
Totally.
And
But
so,
people around you are going to say, oh, you're stuck up. You think you're the, but what you have to do is let them talk because that's their own stuff.
their stuff, yeah,
Trust
yeah.
that faith in your success. I love that.
Thank you. I like it too. I thought it was good. So I think that when we talked before, you had like a poem about fear that you thought was like, because the one thing I hope to be cautious of for people is if we believe that fear is either a tool or it is a part of how we're experiencing things, I want to caution people not to hate themselves or hate a piece of themselves or hate a feeling that they're having of or experience that they're having. And I think that this poem seems to be like came up as sort of a way to talk about fear without like vilifying it. And so
Yeah.
if you think that's true for you, if and you want to share, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would. I wrote it a couple years ago, kind of at the beginning of me stepping into, it was kind of right after massage therapy school and stepping into this unknown, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I know I'm supposed to do something. And having to break down why I was afraid to go teach a yoga class. I'm not a yoga instructor, but it was like, I could do that. And then go into coaching as well. So also just want to state that things like jealousy, things like hate, and things like judgment, those are all umbrellas of fear. When you are judging, you are usually in a fear. When you are hating, it's usually a fear of something for yourself. Jealousy, another, your fear of something else. So, yes. And this poem is actually from my soon-to-be published poetry book for self-development for you to become your true you. So, okay, I know. Almost done. Okay. It's called By Fear. Derailing thoughts, withering feelings, all brought on by one steep sickness of a meaning. Fear. Go away. You are not welcomed here today. Fear. Go away. Find somewhere else to pray. Fear. You are not a part of me. I only need you when trouble is upon thee. Even then, you aren't always completely in need. Fear. I appreciate the thought of your protection, but honestly, you block me from seeing my ultimate reflection. So, I'm telling you to pack up your hate, your jealousy, and your judgment today. Leave my mind free because she doesn't need or believe in you anyways. She knows you will be there to keep her safe. This moment is not one of them, so trust in her ways. When you show up, she will see you and inquire why. From there, you'll come to a decision together to move forward in life.
That's beautiful. One quick question, because I wasn't reading, I was listening. Pray or Prey?
I wrote it Prey.
I thought maybe. That's very lovely. So any ending words of wisdom or any other practical tips that you might want to share to help someone move from fear to faith?
Use it to empower you. Use it as a tool. The fear showing up as like, anytime I know I'm afraid of something, I'm like, oh, something big is coming. Like, I'm afraid of this. I should probably do it. I should probably look at it because it's a way to, as my poem says, see your ultimate reflection, see yourself in a more empowering way, stepping more into your empowering self. Yeah.
So like if you're afraid, you could either like innately react, which would be to stay small, or decide to respond, which will help you grow into your bigness. Thank you so much for visiting us today and letting us pick your, I don't like to say that, letting us listen to some of your wisdom and your practical advice. If anyone would be interested in maybe speaking to you or finding out how they could work with you, is there some way that they could reach you?
Yeah, my website is carolynhealings.com. Email is carolynhealings@gmail.com. Instagram, social medias, Carolyn Healings.
You're in all the places with the like buttons.
Yep, all those like buttons.
Well, thank you so much, Carolyn. I really appreciate you as always, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Yay, me as well. So nice to talk with you. Bye.